Hi, have you ever felt like you have got a story to share but stopped because you thought you weren't ready yet? What if writing a book can actually help you land your dream job even before your first interview? And in a world full of resumes and degrees, could becoming a storyteller be your most underrated superpower? Hi all, welcome to Let's Hear It from Powered by MyJobFactory. I am your host Ajay Alantar, and this is the podcast wherein we are really going to get candid with top industry leaders, HR heads, CEOs, and storytellers who are working very hard to shape and reshape today's dynamic work environment. Joining with us today is one Mr. Raam Anand, a two-time best-selling author, founder of Stardom Books, and chief editor at TBCY. With a passion for helping first-time authors, he has found their voice. Ram sir has mentored and published over 200 aspiring writers. A leadership coach, a publishing expert, he is on a mission to turn powerful stories into long-lasting impact. So, viewers, if you're a job seeker planning to make your next career move through storytelling techniques, or an employee working very hard to build successful teams, this is the podcast for you. So, without wasting a single second, let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Let's hear it from Ram Anandji. Ram Anandji, we are thrilled to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank
So,
you, Ajay. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
yes. So, without wasting a single second, let me quickly jump to the first question. My first question is on basically freshers, graduates who are just passing out from colleges. But studies shows that 60% of the fresh graduates feel unclear about their careers and their career side. So, in your experience, how can writing and storytelling help job seekers discover their voice, help them stand out in a competitive job market?
Yes, Ajay. That's a very good question, actually. So, two, three things come to my mind. Number one would be reflective thinking. Like when you write a book, you start reflecting. It's more of a outward journey and a reflection of that outward journey inside as well. So, and the second important benefit I would say is uh, clarity of purpose. So, if you want to write a book, I mean, you need to completely zoom into your purpose. You need to gain that clarity before you do that. So that's what many of our authors have gotten by attempting this project. And also, most importantly, it builds confidence. I mean,
Right.
how would you feel that your book is published when somebody searches your name, your book shows up online, offline, everywhere. So, and it also showcases some kind of originality, as because you are an author, you have written something, and that's your original content. It is not the same resume that people see. It all looks
Right.
similar,
Right.
whereas someone who has written a book, so it is like kinds of, I would say, helps them in their own journey and start that storytelling as a part of their journey.
Great, great. Moving on to the next question, sir. My next question is on personal brands. People who are successful in building personal brands.
Yeah,
Research says that individuals with personal brands are 3x more likely to be considered for job roles.
absolutely.
Given this fact, you have worked with around 200 first-time authors. What qualities or mindset have you noticed in those who have been successful in building personal brands earlier?
Absolutely. Again, another great question. I think you have done your research in framing these questions very well. So, first of all, I would say uh, the kind of personalities that I see or mindset that I see with people who have already published their books include: number one is curiosity. I mean, they are curious. That shows they are curious, and writing a book needs curiosity. So, one is really that. And the second thing is consistency, because if you want to write and publish a book, you need to write consistently in the first place. Like, that's why so many people are not able to do it, because not that they don't know the topic, they know the topic, but they don't sit consistently or give the focus consistently to be successful. And the third thing is what I have seen is vulnerability, because when you share your story, you also share where you are vulnerable, what are your failures, not just success stories, your failures as well, because that is what binds or connects deeply with your audience. And also, I have seen people who write books, they have this willingness to share their insights or share what they know, their knowledge. And I would say they have this long term thinking. That is why they are able to build their personal brands very early on.
Right. In fact, that is becoming, curiosity is one very important thing which has come out. It, in fact, even the last episode when I was discussing innovation with Sayantan Mukherjee sir, even this curiosity point had emerged at that
Oh, it did.
podcast also. It's so important. It helps you to become an author also. So moving on to the third question quickly. See, although having said writing helps you to make your personal brand, but not everybody can dream of becoming an author. It's not everybody's cup of tea. It's very easy to come on a podcast and say, okay, job seekers, now you can take help of storytelling. It's so easy. My job now is so easy, but then actually dreaming of becoming an author or a writer is very difficult. So, but given this fact, so do you think every job seeker should still consider writing as a career skill, and why? Why, I'll tell you, because studies have shown that professionals who write regular blogs, maybe on LinkedIn or Medium or any other platforms, are 45% more likely to be seen as thought leaders. But then again, coming back to the point, writing is not everybody's cup of tea. So, do you think every job seeker should consider writing as a career skill, and why?
Perfect. Again, I would say yes, because writing is like thinking made visible. I mean, if you don't write, how will people know what you're thinking? So that is, I would say, writing is thinking made visible. It builds credibility with people. It builds that communication, like you are starting to communicate with people. As you said, writing on maybe on LinkedIn or your social media networks or Medium, for example. All these activities that will create your leadership communication. So that's where it starts. So writing as a skill, I mean, if you want to write fiction, I understand it takes a lot of time to understand. You need to have that mindset of writing fiction. But we are talking about non-fiction, which is, I mean, what's happening in your day-to-day activities. That's something you can write. What are your successes? What are your failures? What are your insights? Little things, because that's what people want to know. And all these things will build ultimately what we call as clarity. So people will know someone who writes has this clarity in their minds. That's why they are able to communicate clearly. And those who communicate clearly, as you rightly pointed out with the statistics, 45% are more likely to land with at the right places at the right moments, we say. That's what happens. So yes, it's a good skill to pick up and develop.
Yes, curiosity, clarity, some very important points have started coming out. Sir, you just mentioned about LinkedIn, Medium, and all. Data says that there are 850 million users on LinkedIn, and you would be surprised that less than 2% are actively, posting content on LinkedIn. So for someone, sorry, for someone who has never written professionally, what's the simple to start sharing ideas on or their experiences on platforms like LinkedIn, Medium, or any other platform, preferably LinkedIn? Because I have just started, in fact, this was the problem when I had faced, so this has actually come out from inside me.
Perfect. Well said. I mean, I understand that, because writing itself is a skill. And one of the things that happens when you start writing or when you want to start writing is, what do I write about? That will be the first question. And the second question is, what if I write something and people don't like it? And what if I get trolls? What if I am wrong? So these questions will start happening, and that's why most people don't even attempt to do so. And sometimes they try to write or repost somebody else's content. Like that is even worse, I would say. So here's what you can do. First, you can start listing, or start with lessons from your daily work. I mean, yesterday you had something, maybe you had some breakthroughs, maybe you had some failures. Start writing about your breakthroughs and your failures. That is the simplest. It's like writing your diary or a journal. It's as simple as that. I mean, you don't have to use your personal data in that, but you can talk about your work. And another thing that you can do is you can use bullet points very easily. Like, you don't have to write an entire 1,000-word article. You can write 5 bullet points, something about X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5 steps to something. Or here's what the 3 things, your 3 pieces of advice you can give. Right now, I can ask you, Ajay, what would be your 3 pieces of advice with respect to, let's say, work culture? I mean, you can think and come up with 3 pieces. That's your unique advice. You can start posting that. So, and you can also write like you talk. So that will improve that communication. You don't have to be a professional writer to write on LinkedIn, right? Or Medium or any of these social media. You can start writing
A
as
post like this, which you have mentioned, like, you can do bullet points, and those are the posts which have actually gone viral, and I've actually
exactly,
seen others also, because I see a lot of work
exactly.
which are, collated in a, bullet point presentation, be it a pitch deck preparation or be it an investor's deck,
True.
be it one sales pitch, marketing pitch, and all, and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And the one important point to note is make it consistent. See, let's say if you want to post, don't post randomly. Like, oh, I'm in a good mood today, I will post something. Maybe after 1 month, I will come back and schedule it on your calendar. Every Thursday, I'm going to post something, or twice a week, or twice a month, whatever that frequency is for you. But stick to that frequency, because LinkedIn is also run by algorithms. So LinkedIn's algorithms are watching you. If you are consistently posting, they want content too, and they will promote it to your networks. It's not important. I mean, posting content is important, but actually someone seeing that is also important.
Posting content is important, and posting important, useful content is more important. Like
Absolutely.
what you have mentioned, bullet point presentation, for example, bullet points in workplace culture. What are the three things? It's so helpful. It's so easy. Right.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the next question is something on recruiters, how recruiters see resumes. Like, as you have already known, that it takes only 6 seconds for a recruiter to scan a resume. So it takes only, the candidate has got only 6 seconds to impress a recruiter. Given this point, 70% of the recruiters say that they lack personal, most of the candidates lack personal narrative, which makes them, which makes candidates forgettable. And there are a lot of mistakes which even candidates do on a CV. So what common mistakes do you think professionals make in resumes or interviews, and how can storytelling turn around those mistakes?
Absolutely. Because I too review a lot of resumes all the time, because we also recruit a lot of people sometimes. And so, what I see, all these, because for you who is the applicant, it is one resume. For the recruiter, they are reviewing maybe dozens or even hundreds or even thousands of resumes every week or every month. So if you want to stand out, you have to be unique, first of all. And most resumes are listing tasks, like, I did this, I did that, I did this task, instead of outcomes. I mean, as a recruiter, if I am recruiting, I would rather see an outcome of a task than the task itself. Let's say I'm recruiting for, let's say, social media. If the resume says I have done 10,000 posts on social media, it doesn't impress. But if it is outcome based, look, I did 5 posts during this month, and these 5 posts generated 1 million views. That is an outcome. So I am more interested in the outcome instead of the tasks that a candidate can do. And also, most resumes are very generic in nature, which means they all look the same. Like, my experience is this, my education is my name and address and all these things. So it looks very generic. It's not like kind of inviting for the recruiter to read. It lacks personality, because many people would not use their pictures or photographs in their resumes, because if you do that, it will give your name a face in the minds of your recruiter. So adding that personality is not there. And additionally, in your words that you do, the very first thing I would suggest that candidates do in their resumes is to add this storytelling, right? Start with that hook. I mean, nobody wants to know who is your father, who is your mother, where you graduated, all this. These are details. First thing I want to know is whether we have a good fit, right? So when you start with, it need not be a lengthy biography that you want to put there, just one paragraph, which is like written like a story, like who are you, what you believe in, what is it that makes you a good fit for this organization. That is enough. I mean, and also you can add a little proof and some things. You can say things like adds relatability, I would say. Like, if you and I both believe the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, then it's relatable. So there are a lot of universal truths like this that can make the recruiter and you relate to each other, and that's where it starts to connect. And once we connect with each other, then we start building that relationship, nurture that relationship together. So I would suggest that this is how storytelling can add a great deal of depth to your resumes as well.
One very unique point, job seeker storytelling can also one more ingredient to your CV building activity. Sir, just an extension to the same question, sir. You have been a publishing coach and a leadership mentor. Sir, what is the one underrated skill every job seeker you think should start building from today, sir? One underrated skill. He has it, but he has not been, utilizing it.
Well, you want me to say one? Okay. I would say self-awareness. Self-awareness would be that one thing. In this context, is about knowing and telling your own story clearly. What I mean by that is, let's say I want to ask Ajay, like, Ajay, what's your story? I don't want to hear an entire novel or your biography. I want you to tell me in one paragraph the most important thing I want to know about you in the form of a story.
Tell me something about yourself. Tell me something about yourself. This is a common question, which is what you are actually pointing out.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So most people start ranting when I ask this question, like, tell me about yourself. They start, my name is so and so, I am from this city, and all these things, and I studied here. These are very predictable patterns, isn't it?
Which I can see from
that's what they usually say.
Also. Yes.
What if you just turn it around, tell a quick story, like a 5-minute story, 2-minute story? That will create the deep level of connection with the recruiter. And I think self-awareness, I would call it, because it's about you.
Every recruiter, because I have been a recruiter for the past 20 years, we have been into tech recruitment. More than 5,000 CVs I have seen, more than 5,000 interviews I have scheduled. Yes, recruiters do ask one question, tell me something about yourself, and many of the recruiters say that the candidate was up to the mark, but then he couldn't make the maximum out of this question, and which is where job seekers please try to understand that this is storytelling can actually help you make you stand out for this question. So, sir, moving on to the next question very quickly is. Sir, can you share a story where someone has, unlocked new opportunities through sharing, through writing a book? Can you share some stories through Stardom Books, or how can authors, any of your clients, authors, change their careers, because of storytelling through Stardom Books or through any other medium? So, can you share some very interesting examples?
Absolutely. See, this happens all the time. At Stardom, we have, directly through Stardom, we have published more than 260 authors so far. And I have trained more than 10,000 people all over the world on these aspects. And I have a lot of interesting stories. So it is very common, especially in non-fiction. I'm not talking about fiction books like Chetan Bhagat or Ramesh Tripathi, all these kind of people. I'm talking about you and me, regular people. We already have a profession. We are not professional writers, and we want to use writing a book as a tool. So these kind of things, but I have stories where an analyst, for example, has gone from being an analyst to a thought leader. Now everybody seeks this person so that they can gain their insights from this person. And employee to an employer or an entrepreneur is a very common narrative in publishing industry. Someone who is still in a job, they write a book to launch their career as an entrepreneur. Now people see this person not as an ex-employee of this organization, but as an expert who has written a book. So people invest in such people, so they can go from being an employee to an employer or an entrepreneur. And also from a professional to a keynote speaker. This is even more common. Like, we have published many doctors and surgeons. So once they write a book, they become famous, first of all, because when anyone types their name, their book comes up, and there's a conference happening, there's a seminar happening, and who do seminar leaders want to invite as keynotes? Someone who has written a book, of course. So that is an even more common narrative. Anybody who writes a book, like, becomes an author, their next obvious step is to go and speak on stages. And many of them have gone and spoke on, given their TED Talks as well, TEDx events, and also conferences, speaking engagement. So having a book is like is a new world business card, I would say, which is way more effective than a usual business card.
Very
A lot
well.
of examples like this.
Sir, we have been, discussing a lot on, writing, storytelling, even how storytelling can, help candidates improve their CV, get shortlisted and stuff like that. Uh, Sir, one question I always had post Chat GPT, when AI tools are doing, more, not only coding, but most of the stuff, including writing. So, will Chat GPT kill the creativity in the writers? Should we take help of Chat GPT while writing? How legal, ethical, not legal, but how ethical it is, and how will it kill the creativity in human beings? I mean, this is it's solving most of our problems, fine. But then at the same time, is it not killing the creativity?
Well, Ajay, I don't think so, because ChatGPT is a tool. Ultimately, it is a software, it is a tool. A tool is like a knife, for example, your kitchen knife. You can use your kitchen knife to cut carrots, as well as, if you're not careful, you can cut fingers as well doing so.
And it can
So
be
ChatGPT is an amazing tool if used properly, if used correctly. So if you want ChatGPT to write your personal story, it may not be able to do so, because ChatGPT doesn't know you to tell your story. So you tell your story and let ChatGPT refine it as a tool. Maybe you are worried about your language structure and all these things. Maybe you can ask ChatGPT to edit your content, maybe summarize your story, or put it out in different formats, different ways. You may want to find one example, very relevant example, because we do that all the time here. We write stories of other entrepreneurs and people who want to write books. We actually write their books for them after interview. And when we get stuck at some place where we want to share an example, and the author also doesn't know an example, a right example to share, then we go and research, maybe sometimes using ChatGPT, to find the right example or the right citation or another book that we can bring here, or a quote or some references that we can. All those things, ChatGPT is an excellent tool. I would love to use it.
What a positive way of thinking. What a positive way of thinking. Sir, I come to the last question. In fact, I didn't wanted to come to the last question, but then due to time constraint, we do have our own. I understand your tight schedule. So, sir, coming back to the last question, what's your one piece of advice to job seekers who feel that they are just not good enough to be noticed or to tell their story? I mean, this was the point which even I was also living, I just don't feel like, I'm not good enough to write. So what's that one piece of advice would you like to, advise job seekers like us?
Absolutely. Well, every job seeker, whatever the skill sets are, they are seeking job, and they have to remember this one thing, that you don't have to be perfect. Because there is no perfection in this world. You don't have to be perfect. Just start telling your story before someone else defines your story for you. Don't let others define who you are, what you are. Don't let them tell your story. You tell your story. You don't have to be perfect.
Okay. So he has to, get into the storytelling mode before anybody else gets into.
Because if you don't tell your story, others will tell their own stories about you.
That is always.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
That's what is happening. That's what is happening. So be prepared, job seekers, who still you feel that if you are not good enough, you are actually good enough. So, sir, with this, I come to the end of this particular episode. I hope job seekers enjoyed this. And with this, sir, thank you so much for having such an insightful, wonderful conversation. It was not only helpful for the job seekers also, but for me also. So, job seekers, we at MyJobFactory, we believe that finding a job should not be like shooting an arrow in the dark. It is more like finding the right workplace, a workplace that aligns with your personality, a workplace that aligns with your career goals and aspirations. And that is why we have built MyJobFactory, a platform that connects candidate personas with dream workplaces. And Ram Anandji, coming back to you, as a part of thank you, we are offering you 3 free job postings on MyJobFactory, wherein you can showcase your company culture through photos and videos. You can put into practice various employer branding ideas. You can uh, uh, present your employee value proposition along with detailed job descriptions in order to attract top talent and build engaged teams. And job seekers, if you are looking for a job, please log on to myjobfactory.com now, wherein you will see that we have translated simple job postings into creative workplace stories. The job you might be looking for might just be there. And for HR leaders, CEOs who are, who want to share their story, who want to share their recruitment philosophy with us, we would be more than happy to feature you on this podcast. So, bye for now, viewers. Please take care and see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ajay, for having me on this show. I thoroughly enjoyed all your thoughtfully prepared questions.
Thanks so much, sir. Just a minute.
All the best.
Stop.